The highway at midnight always felt like another world, a place where time froze and shadows came alive. For truck driver Michael Turner, it was just another long haul through the Nevada desert, until the night the storm hit. Rain hammered his windshield, wipers slashing against the dark, when suddenly he saw her. A woman standing in the middle of the road, drenched, barefoot, waving desperately for help. He slammed the brakes, heart pounding, but when the truck screeched to a stop, she was gone. No footprints, no sign of her, just fog curling through the headlights and the faint sound of a woman whispering, "You left me there." Michael tried to laugh it off, but as his radio crackled to life with static and a voice began repeating his name, he realized he wasn't alone on the midnight highway anymore. The Nevada highway stretched endlessly before Michael, a narrow black ribbon vanishing into the storm. The clock on his dashboard blinked 12:47 a.m., its light flickering in rhythm with the static on the radio. The world outside had turned into a blur of rain and shadow. He had been driving for hours, alone, tired, half-numb to the endless miles. The sound of rain hitting the windshield was hypnotic. His headlights caught glimpses of desert shrubs bending under the wind, and now and then the flash of a distant lightning strike. The storm was closing in fast. Michael rubbed his eyes, trying to stay awake. Just 30 more miles to the next town, he told himself. He was a man used to solitude, long nights, empty roads, and the company of static on the CB radio. But tonight felt different. There was something about this stretch of road. It felt alive. He reached to adjust the radio dial, trying to find a station through the static. For a split second, he thought he heard a woman's voice, faint, whispering his name through the noise. His hand froze. Then it vanished, replaced by silence. Michael laughed under his breath. Great. Now I'm hearing things. He turned up the defroster, the glass fogging slightly from the cold. The rain thickened, slashing against the windshield. The wiper struggled to keep up, squealing with every pass. Then, out of nowhere, he saw her. A woman, standing dead center in the road. Her white dress clung to her body, soaked and tattered, her long dark hair plastered to her face. She raised one trembling arm, waving frantically for help. Jesus Christ! Michael slammed on the brakes. Tires screamed against the wet pavement as the truck fishtailed slightly, before jerking to a stop just feet away from her. His heart hammered so hard he could hear it echoing in his ears. For a moment he just sat there, breathing hard, rain pounding the cab like a drum. The headlights burned through the fog, illuminating the road, empty. The woman was gone. Michael blinked. No, I saw her. He threw open the driver's door and stepped out into the downpour. Cold rain instantly soaked through his jacket. He squinted into the storm, scanning both sides of the road. Nothing. Just fog rolling across the asphalt and the endless desert stretching beyond. No footprints, no tire marks, no sign anyone had been there. He shouted over the wind, "Hello? Are you okay?" Only the storm answered. Then he heard it, a whisper carried on the wind, soft but unmistakable. "You left me there." Michael froze. He spun around, light from his flashlight cutting through the mist. No one, but that voice had sounded close. Too close, the hair on his neck stood on end. Something about those words sank deep into his gut. "You left me there." He didn't know anyone out here. He'd never even been down this road before. He climbed back into the truck, locking the door with trembling fingers. The radio flickered again, the same static whispering his name. He turned the key in the ignition, hands shaking slightly. The headlights flared brighter, and for just a second he swore he saw her reflection in the glass. Pale face, hollow eyes, watching him. Then lightning struck somewhere nearby, the flash blinding white. When the thunder rolled and his vision cleared, she was gone. Michael exhaled slowly, his breath visible in the cold air. "Get it together, man," he muttered, trying to steady himself. But as he drove away into the storm, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still sitting in the passenger seat beside him. The storm refused to let up. Sheets of rain slashed across the highway as Michael's truck roared forward, the wipers squealing with frantic effort. His knuckles were white around the steering wheel, the headlights cutting through the blackness like twin blades. The air inside the cab was thick, humid, suffocating, the kind that made every breath feel heavy. He couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Every few seconds he found himself glancing at the passenger seat, the dim glow from the dashboard lighting it faintly. Empty. Always empty. And yet it didn't feel empty. The faint smell of wet earth filled the air. He didn't remember that before. His mind replayed what he saw on the road. The woman's pale face, her hair plastered to her skin, her trembling arm waving desperately. Then nothing. No footprints, no sound, no logic. Just her voice whispering, "You left me there." He pressed his foot on the gas, desperate to put miles between him and that place. The CB radio suddenly crackled to life with a burst of static, making him flinch. "Help, Mika," he froze. His name. He turned the volume knob slowly. "Who's there?" he said, his voice uneasy. No response, just more static. Then faintly, like someone speaking underwater, came the whisper again. "You left me there." Michael's pulse quickened. "Who are you?" he shouted, his voice trembling slightly. Nothing. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the empty road ahead for a split second. And in that moment, he saw her again, sitting right beside him. Her head tilted slightly, her wet hair covering most of her face. The faint scent of river water filled the cab. For an instant, Michael couldn't move. His brain refused to process what his eyes were seeing. Then the thunder cracked and she was gone. He slammed the brakes, the truck skidding slightly on the wet road before stopping dead. His breath came fast, heart hammering. He looked to his right, nothing. Seat empty, but the passenger side window was fogged. And on it, drawn with a trembling finger, were words slowly appearing through the mist. "Help me!" Michael's throat went dry. He stumbled out of the truck, flashlight in hand, boots splashing in puddles. The rain was colder now, biting into his skin. He circled around the truck, shining the beam across the soaked asphalt. Nothing. Only the roar of wind and distant thunder. Then his light caught something. Small handprints. On the back of the truck's trailer door. Too small for an adult, he took a step back. What the hell? The sound of crying came next, faint, echoing through the storm. A woman's sobs. Michael spun in every direction, the flashlight darting wildly. "Where are you?" he yelled. "Are you hurt?" The crying stopped. Then, behind him, a whisper right against his ear. "You didn't stop last time." Michael jumped, nearly dropping the flashlight. He turned, but no one was there. The road stretched out empty under the lightning sky. His breath came in ragged bursts, his mind spinning. Last time, he climbed back into the truck, slamming the door. He sat there shaking, staring at the fogged window. The words, "Help me," were gone. He reached for the ignition, but his hand froze when he saw the dashboard clock. It now read 12:47 a.m., exactly the same as when he first saw her. Michael's voice broke in a whisper. "I've been driving in circles." Outside, the rain slowed, but the darkness somehow deepened. And somewhere in that silence, beneath the hum of the idling engine, a soft, wet breath exhaled from the back seat. Michael sat frozen in the driver's seat, his trembling hand hovering above the ignition. The rhythmic sound of rain had softened to a steady drizzle, but the storm inside his chest refused to calm. He could hear it, breathing, soft, wet, shallow, coming from the back seat. His pulse thundered in his ears as he slowly turned his head toward the rearview mirror. At first, all he saw was darkness, the faint outline of the truck's interior blurred by condensation. Then, as the mirror fogged slightly, he saw her, the woman, sitting in the back seat, drenched, head bowed low, her soaked hair dripping onto the leather. Michael's heart stopped. His mouth went dry. Who are you?" No answer. She slowly lifted her head, and through the tangled strands of hair he saw her face, pale, lifeless, eyes hollow and glistening like glass. A bolt of panic shot through him. He slammed the door open and stumbled out into the cold air, his boots splashing in the puddles beside the road. He ran a few feet away, gasping, the beam of his flashlight shaking in his hand. When he finally turned back, the truck sat silent, idling, its lights cutting through the mist. The passenger side door slowly creaked open on its own. Michael's breath hitched. Then, through the rain, he saw her step out. Barefoot, slow. Her white dress clung to her, glistening in the beam of the headlights. Every instinct screamed run, but something in her face stopped him. The look wasn't one of anger, it was sadness. Her voice was soft, trembling. "You left me there. On this very road." Michael shook his head violently. "No, I don't even know you." Lightning cracked in the distance, illuminating her face for a heartbeat. Her eyes were filled with tears. "You could have stopped," she whispered. "You saw me that night too." The words hit him like a blow. Michael's mind scrambled. That night? He tried to remember. Last year, the same route, same endless highway. He'd been driving through a storm just like this one. He had seen someone on the road back then, a blur in the headlights. He'd assumed it was his exhaustion, a trick of the rain. He hadn't stopped. "No," he murmured, the memory surfacing, cold and cruel. "That wasn't real." "I told myself I was real," she said, voice cracking. "You drove past. I needed help." Michael's stomach twisted. He staggered closer despite his fear. I didn't know. Tears mixed with the rain on his face. She took one step toward him, then another. The storm quieted around them, the world shrinking to just the two of them standing in the misty glow of headlights. "I was trapped in the wreckage for hours," she whispered. No one stopped. Her voice broke into sobs, faint and ghostly. Michael felt his throat tighten. Guilt, sharp and heavy, pressed down on him. "I'm sorry," he said softly, voice trembling. "I should have stopped." Her face softened, eyes filled with sorrow instead of anger. "Now you see me," she said. And just like that, her figure flickered. Once, twice, then faded completely into the mist. Michael stood motionless, rain dripping from his hair, staring at the empty space where she'd stood. His flashlight flickered and went dark. Silence. The only sound left was the hum of his truck's engine and his own heartbeat. He climbed back into the cab slowly, shaken to his core. On the passenger seat lay a small rusted locket. It hadn't been there before. Inside was a photo. A young woman smiling with a child in her arms. On the back of the photo were 2 words written in smudged ink. "Thank you." Michael stared at it, tears in his eyes. He didn't know what it meant yet, but deep down he knew the road hadn't finished with him. The storm had finally drifted east, leaving behind a heavy mist that rolled across the blacktop like smoke. Michael sat in his idling truck, the heater humming softly as he stared at the rusted locket resting in his trembling hands. The photo inside, the woman and her little boy, felt like a ghostly heartbeat in his palms. He traced the faded edge of the picture, whispering to himself, "Who are you?" He didn't know where to go, but something deep inside urged him to drive. Not away from the road, but deeper into it. The fog grew thicker as the miles ticked by, the world outside swallowed in gray silence. The clock still blinked 12:47 a.m., frozen in time. Finally, he saw it, flashing red and blue lights up ahead, reflecting off the mist. His heart jumped. He slowed down, pulling to the shoulder. A patrol car sat abandoned on the roadside, door ajar, headlights still faintly glowing. A rusted road sign leaned nearby, half covered in weeds. It read, "Memorial Highway in loving memory of Claire and Ethan Miller." The name hit him like a cold wave. He looked again at the photo in his hand, the woman Claire smiling with her son Ethan. His breath caught in his throat. He stepped out of the truck, the air biting cold. Kneeling before the sign, he saw something strange. Wilted flowers, soaked teddy bears, and photographs that hadn't aged. Some were half buried in the mud as if left years ago. A memory clawed its way to the surface. That night, nearly a year ago, he'd been hauling freight through this same stretch of highway. The rain had been worse then. He'd been exhausted, half asleep behind the wheel, when something flashed across the road. Headlights, maybe a car off the shoulder. He'd slowed down, just a little. He'd thought about stopping, but fatigue and fear won. He'd told himself it was just the rain. Just his imagination, and he'd kept driving. Now, standing here staring at that memorial, his knees felt weak. "You could have saved us," a voice whispered. Michael's flashlight flickered as the fog thickened. Shapes began forming in the mist. The outline of a car overturned on its side, broken glass glittering faintly. He could hear faint cries, a woman's voice calling out for help. A child sobbing, tears welled in his eyes. "I didn't know." he said shakily. "I didn't know you were real." "We waited," the voice said again, softer this time. He stepped forward, the fog swirling around him, the ghostly wreck shimmering in and out of sight. Through the haze he saw her, Claire, kneeling beside the twisted metal, holding her son close, her eyes filled with that same haunting sadness. Michael fell to his knees. "I'm sorry," he choked out. "God, I'm so sorry." Claire looked at him, her expression not angry, not vengeful, but mournful. "I know," she whispered. "But others won't stop either, unless they see." The realization sank in like ice. She didn't want revenge, she wanted him to remember, to warn others. "Tell them," she said, her voice fading into the mist. "Don't let us be forgotten." And with that, the wreck disappeared. The road was empty again. Michael sat in silence, clutching the locket to his chest. The sky began to lighten faintly in the east, the first trace of dawn bleeding through the fog. He took a deep breath, started the engine, and drove slowly down the endless highway. His eyes fixed ahead, the guilt heavy but his purpose clear. Somewhere behind him, faintly carried on the wind, a woman's voice whispered, "Thank you." The sun had not yet risen, but the storm had died. The sky was a deep gray blue, the kind that only exists before dawn, when the world holds its breath. Michael's truck hummed steadily along the highway, cutting through the last of the fog. The memorial sign grew smaller in his mirrors, but its weight stayed in his chest. For the first time all night he felt calm. The rain-washed desert stretched endlessly around him, the silence broken only by the hum of the engine. He had seen something impossible, and yet more real than anything he'd ever known. As the miles passed, he thought of Claire and her son, how easily he had dismissed a moment that could have saved them. He thought of how many others had done the same. 1,000 highways, 1,000 stories, all beginning and ending the same way. Someone needing help, and someone too afraid to stop. He tightened his grip on the wheel. "Not anymore," he muttered to himself. Then, a voice crackled softly through the radio. "Breaker 19, any drivers out on Highway 50 tonight?" Michael exhaled in relief. Another trucker. He grabbed the CB mic. "Yeah, this is Turner. I'm out near mile 46. You? Static." Then another voice came through, nervous, trembling. "Just past a wreck on the shoulder. Looks fresh. No cops yet? Saw a car flipped over. I think someone's still inside." Michael froze. His chest tightened. "Did you stop?" he asked. Silence. "Did you stop?" The other voice hesitated. "Figured I'd call it in when I hit town. Roads are slick, don't want to risk it." Michael's pulse quickened. It was the same excuse, the same fear. He pressed the mic again, voice steady but fierce. "You stop that truck, son. Now, don't make the mistake I did. You stop." Static filled the line. Then silence. Michael slowed his rig, eyes narrowing through the windshield. A faint shape appeared up ahead, twisted metal glinting under the weak moonlight. A car upside down, wheels still spinning. He pulled to the side, hazard lights flashing, heart pounding. Rainwater pooled along the ditch. Steam rose from the crushed hood. He jumped down from the cab, boots splashing through the puddles, and ran toward the wreck. "Hey, can you hear me?" he shouted. A faint sound answered, a woman's groan. Then coughing. He knelt beside the shattered window, shining his flashlight inside. A young woman, no older than 30, sat pinned by the steering wheel, dazed and bleeding. "You're gonna be okay," Michael said, his voice trembling. "I've got you." Her eyes fluttered open, terrified but alive. "Please, don't leave me." Michael felt tears burn his eyes. "I won't," he said firmly. "Not this time." He grabbed the crowbar from his truck and pried at the door, muscles straining. The metal screamed but gave way. He reached in, pulling her free, dragging her to safety just as the car's engine hissed and caught fire. The explosion ripped through the night, flames lighting the fog like sunrise. Michael shielded her with his body, heart pounding, lungs burning. When the noise finally died, they sat together on the cold asphalt, both trembling, soaked, but alive. The woman looked at him weakly. "You saved me." Michael shook his head, eyes glistening. "No," he whispered. "Someone else did." As the sirens approached in the distance, he turned toward the highway, and there, standing far beyond the flames, he saw them, Claire and her little boy, their silhouettes bathed in soft golden light, smiling faintly before fading with the dawn. Michael closed his eyes, the words echoing gently in his mind. "You stopped this time."